Having shamelessly lied his way into the position of Labour Party leader, at last we can now see Keir Starmer's full master plan. At first we thought it might just be a matter of taking us back to the days of Blairism. Remember those? On the one hand, we had illegal wars that killed millions of innocent civilians, and on the other hand, we did have some sort of effort to deal with child poverty on the home front. So I suppose it's a matter of personal preference how those scales actually weigh up in your own mind. I certainly know which way they balance in my mind. But then it became clear that Blairism wasn't quite right-wing enough for Starmer and the gang of thugs who now control the Labour Party. Perhaps what he was looking towards was a more John Major, one nation conservative idea. God knows he's certainly grey enough and bland enough and has the complete lack of charisma that would certainly draw comparisons with John Major as an individual. But no, apparently that wasn't quite right enough for Starmer either. No, nothing was going to satisfy, nothing was going to keep them happy, short of what seemed to be full-blown Thatcherism. Keir Starmer praises Margaret Thatcher for bringing meaningful change to UK. Labour leader says former PM set loose a natural entrepreneurialism in appeal to Tory voters to back him. And then we thought, well, surely he'll stop there. But no, not a chance. How wrong we were. Next came the cesspit that is Nigel Farage, UKIP, reform. This is from November 2022. UK Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer's speech before the annual conference of the Confederation of British Industry shifted the party's stance on immigration even further to the right. Starmer declared of Labour and big business, our common goal must be to help the British economy of its immigration dependency. His Tuesday speech prompted Nigel Farage, the former leader of the far-right UK Independence Party, UKIP, and Brexit Party to state, Starmer is now repeating the UKIP 2015 manifesto. Labour Party are now to the right of the Conservatives on immigration. But of course, it should have been obvious that this journey could only have one final destination. It should have been clear from all those Union Jacks being waved endlessly that this is where it was going to end up. Yes, National Front, BNP-style racism red in tooth and claw. And nothing exemplifies this more than Keir Starmer welcoming with open arms the hardcore Brexiteer and racist Conservative MP, Natalie Effick. This was her last year, just before she decided that Starmer's Labour Party was the place for her. Don't trust Labour on immigration. They really want open borders, warns Natalie Elphicke. This year needs to be a turning point in our efforts to tackle illegal immigration, writes MP Natalie Elphicke. Well, thank goodness she found a party where her extreme racist views are welcome. It's not often that I agree with a Tory on anything, but Tory MP says BNP is a better fit for Natalie Elphicke than Labour. This week, the complete non-event has been a general election, grinds to its tedious end, thankfully. Basically, we've been presented with two political parties who have no substantial differences between them when it comes to actual policy. But the Labour Party's grubbing around in the gutter, embracing BNP racist tropes has continued apace. Now, those of us of a certain age will remember the predecessor of Reform UKIP BNP, and they were called the National Front. And you might also remember a favourite pastime of theirs was something called Paki bashing. In a moving piece in Independent in 2016 on the rise of Nigel Farage and his odious politics, Sophia Ahmed wrote, I grew up in inner-city Manchester during the 1980s. The winter of discontent had turned into the decade of disgruntlement. Thatcher had declared there was no such thing as society, and no one understood that more than those who were on the margins. Paki bashing was almost a national pastime. The National Front was on the march, and immigration communities were bearing the brunt of a broken country. Now, clearly, geography wasn't a strong point for the racist thugs who engaged in this activity. The term covered not just those from Pakistan, but everyone from the Indian subcontinent, but in particular those from Bangladesh. And it seems that Keir and his thugs have decided to resurrect this age-old right-wing tradition of Paki bashing, if not in the literal physical sense, at least in the verbal sense. And as we all know, physical actions in the real world rapidly follow political rhetoric. So, according to Starmer, the thing that we really should be worried about, the real enemy within, is people from Bangladesh. Who knew? This week we have had both Ashworth and Starmer telling us exactly that. Beware the Bangladeshis.
The Rwanda scheme is not a deterrent.
What would your deterrent be?
Well, we're going to send people back. We're going to process people's claims, and we're going to get on with processing people's claims. And those people who shouldn't be here, when they come from countries like Bangladesh or wherever, we're going to send them back.
But why would that stop people getting into boats?
Because at the moment, they come over here. They know Rwanda only deals with 1%. The rest stay in a hotel for the rest of their lives. That's a big thrashing incentive to come here. Whereas we're saying that rather than sending flights to Rwanda, we're going to be sending flights to all the countries that these people came from by sending people back.
Well, most asylum seekers, according to official figures, come from Afghanistan and Iran. You're not suggesting to voters that you'll get a returns agreement, with the Taliban and with the Iranian Red.
Well, we're talking about people like that. We've got people coming from Albania, from India, from Bangladesh.
But you just literally ignored the two countries where most asylum seekers come from.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a returns
big
agreement.
Proportion is India, Bangladesh, Albania.
And you're still ignoring Afghanistan and Iran. Are you saying you're going to get returns agreements with those two countries?
Well, you'd look at each one on its merits, obviously.
But at the moment, I thought you were an honest politician.
I am an honest politician, that's why I'm giving you an answer.
Are you saying you're going to get a returns agreement with the Taliban?
We can get returns agreement. Well, that's a different set. The Taliban and Afghanistan is a different setup.
Correct. And I'm asking you, are you going to get a returns agreement?
And I'm giving you practical examples of where we believe we can deal with these problems, because at the moment people coming here from the Indian subcontinent, do not get returned. They get put up in hotels and they can stay in these hotels for the rest of their lives.
Did you notice the National Front BNP line in there about how the immigrants are put up in hotels for the rest of their lives? We've seen it all before. This appeal, this attempt to stir up resentment and anger against minority immigrant populations. They're put up in hotels, and God knows they've probably got limousines that come and pick them up from the front door every time they want to go anywhere. And then there's us, the poor white native population. We never get anything. It's nothing but whipping up resentment and anger against a very vulnerable group. We've seen it with all the racist parties, from the National Front to the BNP to UKIP to the Brexit Party to Reform. They all use this same technique against immigrants. But this time, it's none of them that's doing it. It is the Labour Party, and that is just absolutely shocking. And Ashworth wasn't the only one at it. Here is Starmer himself, basically delivering the same message.
At the moment, people coming from countries like Bangladesh are not being removed. I've done it before. I know how it's done. I think it can be done again, and that way we can stop people coming here in the first place. So on the first few days in government, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put the staff back in the returns unit. I'll make sure that we've got planes going off, not to Rwanda, because that's an expensive gimmick. They will go back to the countries where people come from. That's what used to happen.
Where? I mean, it's so hard to do.
Well, at the moment, people coming from countries like Bangladesh are not being removed.
Yeah, not only what he was saying, but there he was, licking Murdoch's boots and pandering to the basest instincts of Sun readers. Just totally vile. The real anger in the Bangladeshi community at Ashworth and Starmer and Labour in general about these comments. Why is UK Labour targeting our Bangladeshi brothers and sisters who have greatly contributed to our economy? Keir Starmer and John Ashworth seem to be attacking every subcontinental nation. This is the real face of UK Labour. Let's make July 4th our Independence Day. The British Bangladeshi community is seething with anger. After having loyally supported Labour our entire lives, we are seeing far-right rhetoric take hold in Labour. The British Bangladeshi community contributes billions to the UK economy, and without our communities, essential services and whole industries would never run. Keir Starmer should be ashamed of himself and take a long, hard look in the mirror. A Prime Minister in waiting should never attack minority communities whose support he relies on. Otherwise, what difference is he to the far right? He should apologise immediately and withdraw his comments. I must say, the advice given at the end of that Sun video that the Bangladeshi community themselves clipped and put out is really good advice for all of us. Yes, Keir Starmer has done it. He has successfully, as he himself tells us, changed the Labour Party. Round of applause, hip hip hooray, well done Sir Keir. He's given hundreds of thousands of Conservative voters exactly what they wanted, which was a better version of the current Conservative Party, and by a better version, I mean one that was going to be even more brutal and more hostile to immigration and ethnic minorities than their current Tory party was. So, well done again, and what we had from Starmer and Ashworth was nothing but dog whistle racism, and we should reject it, and we should make a disapproval of that type of language being used, that type of appeal, this moving into the BNP National Front territory. Make it clear that it's not acceptable to many of us who are lifelong Labour members and lifelong Labour voters. There are now hundreds of thousands of Tory voters who are flocking to Keir Starmer's Labour and perfectly happy with what's coming out of his mouth and the policies that he's promoting. But the point for us is he doesn't need our vote. He will be the Prime Minister. He will absolutely be the next Prime Minister thanks to all these hundreds of thousands of Tory voters that he has successfully pitched to and who have flocked to vote for him. He doesn't need your vote. He doesn't need my vote. We don't need to sully ourselves by voting for the Farage's travesty that he has turned the Labour Party into. We can vote with our conscience. There is a host of smaller parties standing, smaller left-wing parties standing, independent candidates standing on a left-wing platform. We can vote for them. We can vote with our conscience. We should not vote for Keir Starmer and his other rabidly racist party. Okay, thanks very much for listening and hope to chat again soon.